Welcome to MamaFuel, the podcast that fuels every mama's heart, soul, mind, and body, and hopefully sparks a few dreams along the way. I'm Ann Ferguson, Chief Nurturer and Mama Mentor at the Centered Mama Project, and your host for this podcast. I'll be sharing real, raw, and often funny conversations with beautiful mamas from around the world to remind you that you're not alone and that you're doing amazingly on this wild journey of shepherding small humans as they make their way on our beautiful planet. Let's get started. Well, hello. Welcome to this week's episode of MamaFuel, the podcast. I'm Ann Ferguson, your host. And before we get started on this week's episode, I wanted to remind you to pop something in your calendar if you haven't done it already. If you are a regular of MamaFuel, the podcast, you will already know that May 7th, 2019 is a big day here in MamaFuel land, and that is because something exciting will be happening on that day and in the days following in the lead up to opening up the doors to the MamaFuel Sisterhood. The MamaFuel Sisterhood is a membership that I created a while back to give mamas like us who hold space for everyone and everything a place where you can come and just lay it all down and show up fully in your full, beautiful heart with all the ups, the downs, the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, and everything in between. And the sisterhood is a place that has fueled all of the women who are in that circle, including me. And it is time. It is time for that circle to expand and broaden and welcome in new sisters. And I will be telling you more about that on the 7th of May. And I would love, if you feel called, that you get in touch with me. And the only way to do that right now is to email me at Anne, A-N-N-E, at MamaFuel, MamaFuel.me, and say, hey, I'd love to know about the sisterhood. Or you can go to Instagram and you'll find me at MamaFuel.me and ask me there, drop me a DM, because the 7th of May is a big day and I would love, love, love for you to join us on the journey and to step into the circle and gift yourself the opportunity to be supported and held by amazing women from all around the world. So keep your eyes and ears peeled. That is coming on the 7th of May. I will tell you where you can sign up to get more information when the time comes. But for now, the only way to do it is to drop me an email at ann@mamafuel.me. Or you can always join the Facebook group over on Facebook at MamaFuel. It's the virtual village, actually, the MamaFuel virtual village. And if you can't find that, just look for the link in the show notes and you will be able to access it that way. So let's get going with this week's episode with the amazing, generous, kind, and vulnerable Sarah Tucker. I loved my conversation with her. I love that before we started our recording, she and I and my kids were rocking out singing to The Greatest Showman because we knew of Sarah through her her presence. That's right. Her presence on The Voice UK in the autumn. She was incredible. And ever since we saw her, our whole house has been singing like never before. And I'm ever so grateful to her for that. So without any further ado, get ready. This is a longish episode, but I didn't really want to cut out any of the conversation. And it's an important one for us to have. One more small note to add is that during our conversation that we were having while Sarah was sat in the kitchen in which she has been singing her heart out and sharing with anyone who follows her on Instagram, Sarah was connected to her phone. And a few times you'll hear her going, oops, because a message will have come up on her phone and the screen will have gone black because we also record the podcast for video. And I've got a YouTube channel where the podcasts are all uploaded. And later on in the podcast, Sarah's husband and small kids came home and you can hear her saying hi to both of her kids. And then her little guy, who's 3, asking for some milk. He said he wanted to be a baby. And Sarah was trying to juggle the milk and the podcast conversation. And in the end, she just ended up nursing him, just like I've had the beautiful Leela Bunce nursing her little guy on the podcast before. So you'll hear all of the realities of Sarah's mama life as her beautiful babies arrive, and she tends to them while still talking to me. And yeah, it's just a beautiful representation of what it's really like, isn't it? So when you hear the oops and you hear the and the sounds dropping. I've left it all in there because it's just so beautiful and it's so real. So enjoy that. And if you're not watching on the YouTube channel, you will know what the oops and the bangs are. It's just technology and the realities of recording while tending to your beautiful babies and headphone lines only being so long so that when you move, the phone smacks down on the countertop. That's all I have to say, really. Enjoy this episode. I can't wait to hear what you think about it. Let me know in the Facebook group, where Sarah has generously agreed to come and join us to answer any of your questions. So if you haven't already joined the MamaFuel Virtual Village, make sure you do that over on Facebook. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of MamaFuel, the podcast. I am Ann Ferguson, your host, and I am so excited about today's conversation, which has been in the making for almost 2 months, I want to say, with a person who became an Insta star in our house with my kids and is someone whose journey I've been following through the joys of Instagram for some time. Sarah Tucker, who some of you may know as the handle Sing Like a Mother on Instagram. She has the voice of an angel and the soul and heart of somebody that I just want to gather up into my arms and give the biggest hug to, because she's so open and vulnerable and kind and generous with both her voice, her time, the process of what it's been like for her to step up and live into her dream. And I'm really excited, Sarah, that you have decided to join us today on MamaFuel, the podcast. I'm very grateful as well, because I know you've got a lot going on. So welcome to MamaFuel.
Thank you. Thank you for such a lovely introduction. I have to say the Instagram handle is Sing Mother Tucker.
Just Sing so Mother Tucker, not Sing Like
so you know.
You know why?
Because they don't start following the wrong person.
Do you know why I blended Carrie's Do It Like a Mother and Sing Mother Tucker?
I quite like it though, to be fair.
It comes back to my thought about the YouTube, about the show that ITV should do around mother singing. I still think that's a thing. Anyway, which we'll talk about shortly, but let's start with your journey into motherhood, because the way that you and I have connected is through a massive chance that you took and a dream that you have followed, and straight through to where you are today. And we'll get to that. But before all of that limelight stuff kicked in, tell us about what it was like for you before and as you journeyed into becoming a mama.
So I don't remember the moment exactly of when I decided that I did want to have children. But I know one of my close friends had an unexpected pregnancy. She was the first one. Me and my husband married very young. So we were married at 25, together since we were 17. So we were married at 25. So around 27, it was sort of the next phase in the journey. But my friend, ended up having a baby before, and we just fell in love with him. He's now our godson. And and it kind of made us, I remember driving home and saying, I'd quite like to have a baby, I think. And my husband was like, okay. And I was all excited. So it was really enthusiastic, but we didn't exactly decide to start trying. We got pregnant the next month, weirdly. But that pregnancy ended with a miscarriage. So we got to our 12. We had a bleed about 9 weeks, and then we got to have a scan. They said the heartbeat was there. It was fine. It was 6 weeks. And then we went to our 12-week scan, and the baby had grown for 1 day and was still there, but no heartbeat, obviously. So it was a pretty traumatic start to motherhood for me. I'd had a very dreamy life up till then, really. Other than sort of my own personal problems of anxiety and stuff like that. But up till then, I'd never had something actually bad happen to me. And I was stunned. I didn't know anybody else that had a miscarriage, none of my family. So I was, it was one of the toughest times. Came home, just coming home from your scan, and I told everybody. So that was a tough start and made my journey into motherhood a very desperate one, because we came home, we had to wait for things to happen naturally, which it didn't. And my body clearly wanted me to be pregnant because it actually carried on growing the sac. So by the time I went back 2 weeks later, it quadrupled in size. Wow. And I remember them saying to me, because I still felt pregnant. That was the thing. I kept thinking, I'm getting bigger still, so I don't know what's happening. And it was a horrible 2 weeks. I was on a hen weekend with this empty thing, couldn't tell anyone that I was carrying around my baby that was, not alive. So it was a really tough time. But it started my spiritual journey instantly, because when something like that happens, you sort of become spiritual overnight, I think. And I remember finding a stone on this hen weekend that was a heart-shaped stone with the exact same shape of the bean in it. And I picked it up, and I've still got it now. Like, it came with me to the voice. And, sometimes I'll take it along to things, this stone, just because I'm like, you want to come? You can come with me. Mm-hmm. So it started my spiritual journey. And then eventually I had to have the operation to get the miscarriage, removed. And so I was very ready to be a mum. It took 6 months after that till I fell pregnant with Sienna. But that 6 months was spent discovering the law of attraction and discovering the secret and discovering all of these things that you could do to try and attract things into your life. So I discovered all of these amazing things at that time. And I remember doing a mood board with a baby that I chose off Google. I wanted it to be a girl. And because I always imagined having a daughter that I could, make into a mini me and be best friends with. So I wanted a girl. I would have been happy with any baby, but I thought, if I'm going to choose, I will put it on my mood board. And I used to walk home from London. I worked in the city at the time, and I used to put my headphones in, listen to sort of emotional songs, and imagine my labour again and again every night. Some nights I'd get through the door and I'd be in tears, because I'd have imagined it so vividly that I could feel it, like I could feel like that emotion of the baby on my chest. And then obviously I'd have my period and I'd be really upset and have to pick myself up again. So it was a tough 6 months. 6 months isn't a long time compared to some women, but for me, it felt like a lifetime, because I'd already had it and then had to wait all over again. And I didn't know it was going to be okay, but we fell pregnant and had our lovely Sienna. And obviously I was so grateful, the whole journey, the whole pregnancy. I didn't care how I felt. I just rose-tinted glasses, didn't care anything apart from the labour. I was scared about that. And it was so identical to how I'd imagined it, because I'd always imagined having an epidural, because in my imaginings I wasn't in pain. I was just, labouring to this beautiful music, and the circle of life was playing, and it was just all very Disney. And that is how it was. Like, I had, dim lighting, I had my Disney music on, and it was an amazing moment when she got put on my chest. I remember thinking, I'm finally healed. Like, all of this pain, it's gone now. She is she changed me overnight. I was just a better, stronger version of myself. The second she was born, I was the happiest I'd ever been. And it was a really lovely time. I loved it. And then I went back to London, very determined version of myself, much more driven. And I went and sat at my desk, and I remember just, I was still kind of doing the singing, but nothing was ever happening with it. But I was doing Britain's Got Talent that particular time, and they rang me and said, "Oh, sorry, we know you're auditioning Monday, but we've got to kick you off because we've got too many." And I was like, right, I'm done. I've done this for so many years. I'm always messed around. I'm going to focus my energy on something I can control, not a baby that I couldn't control. I am focusing it on something that's in my control. So that's when I decided to become a mortgage broker. In that exact moment, I looked it up on the internet, and I was like, that's it. I have to do something else with my energy. And I remember ringing my husband saying, it's going to cost me £800, but I'm thinking when we have another one, I can be a mum that works from home. I can be there for my kids. I can be doing something that's not just a PA to a rich man making another rich man money by arguing with each other. Like, this doesn't feel fulfilling to me. And he was very supportive. Yep, fine. So I studied to be a mortgage broker while having Sienna, while also wanting to get a six-pack. I mean, literally, I took driven to a whole new level at that time, probably a bit too far. I was just like, I felt like I could do anything. So I wanted to do everything. That's how it felt. And I wanted to take Sienna to everything. So I did go for X Factor again. Nothing happened. And then after I got my six-pack, I fell pregnant literally the following month with my son Joshua. And I was a very different person then, because I was quite happy with our life. Sienna was 2. We just had this lovely 3, and it was so easy. And we were those parents that other people would moan and we just wouldn't understand. We'd be like, oh, I don't almost like now looking back, I think, oh, you were cocky, but you didn't.
Bless.
You shouldn't have been, because it was all coming. So I was that parent that just thought, oh, everything's just so glossy. I love it. And then I fell pregnant with Josh, and I was still very into my weight training, to probably a point of obsession, because my body was changing. I didn't want to accept it. I put on so much weight with Sienna. That's what kickstarted my weight loss. I think I put on 4 or 5 stone with her. And I've always been slim. So for me to sort of be a size 16 for a while was just so weird. I didn't even realise it had happened. And then I was so deeply unhappy with it. So it created this obsession with the fitness. And I trained very tough throughout all my pregnancy. Had the most incredible labour because of it. It was so quick, and it was so quick. I couldn't use anything. It was just, I was very much in control of my body, very fueling it with all the right things. But I think looking back, I didn't prepare mentally and emotionally to have another baby. I prepared physically, and that's about as far as my head went. I did the nursery, I did all the things, but I didn't actually prepare for that loss of control of everything after. And so I had Joshua, and for 6 months I did not let him leave my sight. So I breastfed both my children. He's still actually breastfed, which is absolutely, I did not think I'd be doing it for this long. He's nearly 3. And I just didn't want I didn't want to go out without him. He was literally, he might as well have lived in a sling for 6 months. He was just on me all the time. I discovered slings. And I was like, oh, if only I'd had this with Sienna. And so I never knew that I had postnatal depression, because I assumed postnatal depression was you stuck them in a corner and you didn't want them near you. But actually, I couldn't have him away from me. I didn't do anything outside of him for 6 months. And all of a sudden then it got to Christmas, and I was just powering through. Christening, went to town on the christening. Christmas, went mad on Christmas, just obsessively. And I was finding it hard at home, but I was determined to be supermum, determined that that was the image I was going to put out there. I posted all the time on Instagram and Facebook, pictures of me in the sling with both kids, pictures of me, doing what they called zip wiring thing with both kids. I didn't even know I was picturing it. It kept me positive by continuing to push myself to do these things. And then once Boxing Day passed and I knew I didn't have anything else in my diary to keep up with, I remember just literally falling to pieces, and I couldn't even do breakfast for the kids without, on the floor, on my knees, just thinking, I can't do this. I can't even give them breakfast. I am so done. I don't even know what to do. So I'd ring my husband and say, you're going to put me in a home. You got to help me out. I'm going crazy. I just don't know what to do. I'm not myself. I'm thinking all these nutty thoughts. And he's like, okay, you're fine. We just muddled through, and eventually someone turned around and said, I think you've got postnatal depression. And I was like, how can I? I was fine for 6 months. He's 8 months old. You only get that when they're first born. And I just had this massive education really about depression, and it didn't last for long, thankfully. I went and got help immediately. I didn't take stuff, but I spoke to therapists. I went and got Reiki attuned. I discovered crystals. I discovered the universe and all of this other stuff that added to my law of attraction, but was brand new. And it changed my world all over again. I just thought, I thought I knew everything. I know nothing. I'm so disconnected. And so I reconnected in a big way, and actually just transformed really in personality. And I think a lot of friends found it difficult because I just had to pull away from everything I knew and restart and pick and choose who was coming back into my circle and who unfortunately just wasn't, for whatever reason. And that transformation continued into me ending up doing The Voice. I allowed myself to sign up to things like Thrive Like a Mother, which was self-development. And I said yes to those things more and more. And I did women's circles, which I still go to every other month. and I celebrate the moon, and I do full moon and new moon rituals religiously. I've worked with the moon now for just over a year. I genuinely think that's why the voice happened, one of the reasons. So, yeah, my motherhood journey, I haven't obviously said that for a long time, has been an intensely spiritual and emotional experience, and massive highs and huge lows. But yeah, I love it. I love being a mum. Like, it has been the making of me in so many ways.
So many places we could go with that.
Yeah.
And I will just refer anyone who's listening, if you haven't listened to the episode with Anna Saucier, who is a dear friend and business buddy who is a natural fertility specialist. So we talked a lot about, I can never remember the term that she used, but it was fertility challenges that she talked about in the other episode with my uni flatmate, Heather Dawson. I don't remember the number of the episode, but she had 15 miscarriages and two pregnancies that yielded beautiful, strapping, amazing little boys, one of whom is now almost an adult. But yeah, this theme of struggling to become pregnant or losing a baby at some stage, either during pregnancy or immediately at birth or after. And the postnatal depression piece is something that is common, and I'm really pleased to see that it is spoken about more often in the online space, in social media. I'm not sure that people are yet comfortable, funnily enough, talking about it in person as much perhaps as they are online, because if I'm online, I put things out there, people will respond, but I don't have to sit in their discomfort at what I'm telling them or sit in my own discomfort at what they're telling me, because we're in the same physical space. So I think there's a benefit to this social media space where we begin to have these conversations, yet I'm not convinced that they're happening as much as they could be happening and should be, because having had, it's been questioned. Was it postnatal depression? Was it post-traumatic stress disorder linked to an earlier surgery around my first birth, my first delivery? I really resonate with what you're saying, and the education, as you say, never having had anything really bad happen in life. If you're so lucky, to get to the stage where you're having a baby or you're pregnant and nothing bad has ever happened, which wasn't the case for me, but to suddenly be faced with these things and you think right? And we're all blissfully ignorant when we're young, and we think we know so much. And we know lots more than we did before. We just don't know how much there is to know. And I think we won't know that ever, really. Yeah. But the education around postnatal depression and the realization of the stigma that even if you are educated and even if you are sensitive and attuned to other people and you think that you're open, we all carry prejudice, we all carry stigma, we all carry preconceived notions of what it means and what it looks like. And you can develop postnatal depression up to 2 years after the birth of your baby. Brain just goes, what? Yeah,
and I have to say, as great as social media is, I think it contributed to my postnatal depression, if I'm honest, because I was trying to keep up with my social media version of myself and didn't realise that the gap between the reality at some point started to do this and grew to this, to the point where I didn't even know who I was or how I felt. I didn't know if I felt like I put on screen or how I felt inside. I just had no separation. I couldn't tell what I felt. I just knew I didn't feel normal anymore. So, and I think obviously through the pregnancy, I was following fit pregnant women. And my husband repeatedly said to me, you've got 2 jobs, you're doing mortgages in the evening, you're in London, you've got 1 toddler. That woman hasn't even got another baby. That's her job full time. And you don't even know what lights she's got on her body. You don't know her. You don't know her life, and you don't know that that's real and attainable for you. But I would look at this and go, look, she's managing to do it. She hasn't got sciatica or whatever it is. And it's that education as well, knowing that you have to pick and choose what's on social media to enhance your life rather than your ego picking out social media that's going to actually detriment your life. So I think you do have to know the difference between the two, don't you?
It's knowing where, for people who aren't watching us on YouTube, Sarah was had her hands parallel and was bringing them further and further and further apart. And as you were just saying that, what I was thinking was it's not just that it blurs the edges, it's that you lose the edges entirely. It just, as though I'm holding my hands on the screen and suddenly you can't see my hands anymore because you don't know where they are. And where is that edge, and where does what you're putting out into the world end? And where do you end, and where does then what you're putting out into the world end in a different place?
Exactly.
Because it's not aligned, and it's a whole other layer, isn't it? Of you're sending so many ideas fizzing in my head, but it's a whole other layer of alignment with yourself, isn't it? Because there's acting in integrity with who you are and how you want to show up in the world, and the person you are being and the person you want to be. And hopefully those are in alignment, but most often they aren't. And we as mothers have all of these implicit messages about how we should be and what we should be and who we should be and how we should show up and what makes us a good mother. And all the shoulding on ourselves is just layers of weight, isn't it? That are added onto us. And then you added this other layer of, I must be uber fit. I must be, flawless, whatever that means. I must be at this high level, because you also had something, and you've alluded to it a few times. So for people who don't know you, there's this other very deep longing in you forever to sing professionally. And so you were talking about Britain's Got Talent, and you mentioned The Voice, and through The Voice, and Carrie, who has the Do It Like a Mother. That's right?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm getting that wrong. Do It Like a Mother, which is the program that you joined, the self-development for women and mothers. Specifically, you were able to pursue this dream in a whole different way, as you say, using the law of attraction and using things that you had learned about shifting your mindset and really believing and visioning into things. You have been able to step into your dream. And that was one of the things that I really wanted to talk to you about in the context of this podcast, which is, okay, you had this, I'm sure you had lots of dreams, but you had this dream to become a mama, and there were some stumbles, but you became a mama, and then you quickly became a mama again.
Yeah.
And I was about to make a slip of the tongue, but I realized it's probably two. You quickly became another mama, because you weren't the same mama in the early days to Sienna as you were to Joshua, and none of us are, right?
No, you can't be, can you?
You can't. I wasn't at all the same mother. I had a very traumatic first delivery with Caroline, and she has an incredibly strong bond with my husband, who was the person who was able to care for her in those first few days when I went into shock and was, in falling into the void of the floor of the hospital room. Sure, I would never climb out, and it was the end of my life. And I was trying not to die, and she was cuddling with daddy. So the bond there is very, very strong. And the bond with me and my second daughter, Amelia, where I was able to say, let's plan the C-section instead of having an emergency one. I need to have her on my chest. Don't take her away. Don't dress her. Don't put fragrance on her, which they did in the hospital we were in Spain.
Yeah.
Don't, dress her to within an inch of her life. So all I can see is her sweet little face and her hands and nothing else. Like, bring her to me. And that was a very healing, situation where,
sorry, have you lost me?
Yeah, no, it's okay. You're back. Okay. It's a very healing situation where it closed the loop. As you said, when they put Sienna on your chest, it really closed the circle with the loss of your first baby. But you're not the same mother, are you? When you have other subsequent children, and I'm sure it continues if you have more.
Yeah, because I remember the night going into labour with Joshua, I was in denial for one. But I remember crying over my daughter's bed because I saw her sleeping, and I knew she, we'd tried to prepare her, but I knew it was never going to be the same. And she would always have to share us, and her life and world was going to change. And I remembered me and my husband crying, because we were like, oh, look at her. And she's got no idea everything's going to change. She's got no idea. And she's just our sweet little first baby. And it did change. And I had every right to cry, because obviously I didn't know I was going to. I think part of me did even know then that something wasn't right within me. But yeah, I had, those tears were were valid, basically, because it did change. And I still miss those days, even though I'd never trade my son. You know, I have such an extremely close bond with him, completely different. He is an absolute sweetheart, and melts my heart every day. So I would never change it. But I still think, oh, it was such a wonderful time, and it was just her as a little baby and us, and you know, you just took them everywhere you went. It just was quite easy. But yeah, so it's just nostalgia, isn't it? But yeah, so the dream stuff.
Yes, tell us about the other dream. So that was where we were going to. So that you had this dream to sing. Talk to us about that.
And I mean, way before I had Sienna, so 2009, I went for X Factor every single year. And I used to never get past producers, and just used to dream about being in front of Simon Cowell and just think, one day I will sing in front of him and I just want him to tell me I'm good at singing, and then I'll believe it. I won't believe all my friends because they love me. I won't believe my family. I will believe him. And so when I didn't know I was doing the law of attraction, but I was, because I'd continue to replay this image in my head of me getting 4 yeses and me getting a standing ovation and all of these magical moments that you see on TV with footprints in the sand on background and just slow motion. Like, I would do it again and again in my car. And then obviously one day I did get the call to say I would be singing in front of Simon Cowell, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's actually going to happen. I was 23, just got engaged to my husband, so life was sweet. And I'd been doing singing competitions locally and built up my confidence more and more. So it was like the climax of my confidence at that point. And it was the most unbelievable experience. We stayed in Manchester. All my family came. We all had T-shirts. I didn't, obviously. But they had all T-shirts with my face on. Sarah's got the X Factor. My little brothers came. There was about 35 of us. Amazing. And, you know, we'd never seen TV shows. We'd never seen the background of these things. We met Dermot, and we were like kids. We were just like, oh my gosh. And X Factor then was huge. You know, it was the it show. And it was, I was the last of the day, and they were like, oh, you know, off you go. My name was Sarah Toomey then. And I went out and I was all goofy and just like, hello, oh my gosh, I love you, Simon Cowell. I'm so in love with you. And I sang Summertime by Leona, and delivered it how I wanted to. And he said to me, oh, you've got, you know, you've got an amazing voice. You need to get used to the bright lights. You got 4 yeses. And Cheryl Cut, they were all wonderful. And Louis Walsh said I sounded like Mariah Carey. And Simon Cowell came backstage to meet my mum and dad and shake my dad's hand and tell him that I was someone special and that he should believe, you know, I just needed to start believing in myself. And again, I thought, this is it. Like, I've done it. Like, I'm on X Factor. They came to film me at work. I went to boot camp. And I still, to this day, do not know what changed, but that is just TV. I was hot 1 second, and then they dropped me the next. And I did not understand what was happening. It was the middle of the night. We had little sleep. It was a really hard thing going on X Factor, like just very different to the voice, very physically, emotionally testing in the conditions they put you in, like the lack of sleep. Everything's last minute. Everything is secretive and pressured, and let's see how you cope with this drama, and, you know, very difficult, whereas the voice was very ethical and all the way through. And and I just suddenly got put in a no room at 2 a.m. and got told that we were going home, and I was like, oh my gosh, what the hell? Yeah, so I had to ring my mum and dad at 3 a.m. and say, you're going to have to come and get me. I've been kicked off the show. And Simon did pull me aside without cameras and say, don't give up, because you're great and you were so close, but it just wasn't to be this time. And, you know, I could not get over it. Like, I came home and I sort of was like, next year I'm going to go. And next year came and went, and I didn't even get past producers. And I was like, I don't get it. How does this happen? And so I just got married and focused on, I did still go every year, but I never believed in my heart. It had taken away and stripped me of my belief and my passion in it. And it just was never the same for such a long time after. And even my uncle, I remember him saying, that day you left that X Factor, you left your spark there too about singing. I just don't think you want it anymore. And I'd tell everyone, yeah, I don't think I do either, because it's just a horrible industry. But I did. I wanted it. I watched it every year, and I watched The Voice every year, and I'd think, I can sing like that. I can do that. I can be that person. Why aren't I there? Like, I've got so much to say as well. So after the postnatal depression, I sang at Joshua's christening, which was before the depression, not to confuse anyone. Which was the first time I'd sung in years, and I was like, I might sing at his christening. I might just do it. And then after the depression, I had Reiki done, and the woman said to me, "You've got a big ball." Do you know about Reiki? Yeah. So it's a healing treatment for anyone who doesn't know, and the Reiki practitioner said, you've got something in your throat. It's a massive ball of golden light. She said, are you a singer? And I went, yeah, I do. Well, I'm not a singer, but I can sing. And she went, that's light, sweetheart. She's like, that's not meant to sit in your body. That is meant to be shared. That is healing light. And you're holding on to it. She said, it's like you're wrapping your hands around it and you're closing it from anyone to see it. And I said, yeah, I am. And she said, all I can see is Ariel from The Little Mermaid. And she's singing, but nothing's coming out and no one can hear it. And she said, please start to share it, because there's something in you. And I was like, oh, okay. And I did Kerry's Thrive Like a Mother, and I went on there with my mortgage business, which I am now concentrating on the mortgage mum. But at that time, I was just a mortgage broker thinking I'd like to one day open a mortgage business. And then there was just one day where it was just talking about your purpose, and you're live anyway, you come in live, so you never know what you're going to say. And I just went, oh, do you know what? I've got to be honest. I want to sing. I love doing mortgages and helping people, but my purpose, I honestly believe, is to sing. Yes. And everybody was like, you can sing? I didn't know you could sing, because it was so hidden. And I was like, yeah, do you know what? I think I might go for X Factor again. I haven't been for years. I might just go. And so they were all very encouraging. And by then I knew myself so well, because I'd had all of this soul searching and all of this depression and all of this therapy. So I felt like, you know what, I've got a lot about me. I've got a lot to say about stuff. Like, if I get a platform, I will talk about postnatal depression. I will talk about the law of attraction. I will talk about motivational speaking and mums and how they need to have more confidence. And I've got a lot I want to talk about. So I was thinking, this is why it's never happened before, because I've got 2 children who need to see this path, and I've got so much more to say. So now I understand. So I convinced myself this was it. It wasn't a question mark. It was going to happen this year. And I went to the X Factor, a completely transformed version. The first time I've ever turned up for an audition without worrying what they were thinking. I just turned up and was like, hey, my name's Sarah. You know, I'm a mum, really loose. And I got straight through. And unfortunately, they let me down again. So the night before my audition, they emailed me and said, really sorry, road booked. You're not coming tomorrow. We'll let you know. And they just never did. So I was like, what? I've done all these courses. This is meant to be what happens. This is not the outcome. This is not what's supposed to have happened. So I couldn't understand. I've dedicated my entire year to this vision, and everything was lining up. I had life coaches coming in for free. I set up my Instagram page because of this life coach. All of these little weird universe synchronicities were happening, and I could see them. I was totally connected, and I thought, no. What are you doing? This isn't the plan. And then The Voice were continuing to email me saying, you know, we know you're on X Factor, but how are things going? Would you like to come on The Voice instead? You can transfer to this show. And because I'd always wanted X Factor, like it was like a wound, I just thought, no, I want the X Factor. But then once they treated me like that, I just remember this one particular day just thinking, you wouldn't let a friend treat you like that anymore. You cut all those friends out. So why haven't you cut this one out? This is your bad boyfriend, okay? This person treats you awfully, has never treated you well, and yet you continue to go back hoping they'll change and hoping this time they'll be better. This time they'll love me the way I want them to love me. So how about instead of that, you go to the voice who are being nothing but kind, and maybe that's what this is all about, for you to finally let go of that and choose the new path. And so I convinced myself, okay. And I remember standing there going, oh, are you trying to get me to go on The Voice? Is that what you're doing? I think that's what you're doing. I get it. Okay, sorry. Get it. Listening, going to The Voice. And The Voice was so easy. You know, not easy, but I mean, easy to get on to it compared to the X Factor, because I wasn't putting pressure on it. I was like, I was in a funny place. So although I thought it could be that, I also didn't believe in it all. So when they turned around and said, we need you to come in on Sienna's birthday, I would never normally say no, but I said no. Family comes first, and I'm keeping my priorities in check. So X Factor messed me about. If you want me, you'll want me. If this is meant to be, you'll ring me anyway. And they were like, oh, okay, no, we totally get it. And they rang me anyway. And then as soon as they rang me, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. And then they rang and said, you've got a blind audition. And I was absolutely buzzing, showing Sienna on telly, just saying, look, this is The Voice. This is, Mummy's going to go on this show. I'm definitely getting on in front of those coaches, and Mummy wants 4 turns. And she was like, oh, wow, so they turn if they like you? And I was like, yeah. And 4 turns is like the best thing you can get. And I said, so this is what Mummy wants. So we've got to pretend that Mummy's going to get 4 turns, okay? And she was like, okay. And she was like, do you want to act it out now? And I was like, yeah, just you be a coach and we'll pretend now. So I totally wanted to bring her into this like vision. And I mood boarded it, put Jennifer Hudson on my mood board, put 4 turns on my mood board, wrote down every day. You know, I'm so thankful I've got 4 turns in The Voice. I'm so thankful I'm on Jennifer Hudson's team in The Voice. I was like, that's it. Soul focus. Everything else can wait. This is what I want now. And the day came in October. I mean, and it was so different. You had vocal coaching, you had rehearsals with a band. They helped me create the In My Blood track from something that I'd tried to create at home, just in my kitchen, just no equipment, just me singing it. And we turned it into what it was that you saw. And I remember when they took me on stage, I burst into tears because I had this overwhelming feeling of, this is the stage that's been waiting for me. This is the stage I was waiting to sing on. And so I just had these overwhelming feelings of, this is all meant to be. I can just feel it. So the day of my blind, leading up to it, I was just excited, even though I get very nervous and very anxious. I wasn't until I woke up, having had 2 hours sleep, because I took them all up to Manchester and it took us hours to get there. And Joshua didn't sleep and he was feeding on me all night. He was teething, and I woke up with no sleep and I just felt sick and just couldn't believe this day that was so meant to be was starting off so terribly. And I just thought, I know what I'm like when I'm tired. Like, I know how anxious I get. My heart's already in my throat. I feel sick, I feel ill. How the hell am I going to do this today? Like, how is this going to be my thing that I look back on forever and ever with my kids? How am I going to make this happen? And then I met the other contestants and I shrunk a bit more and thought, look how confident they are. Look how happy everyone is to be here. I'm shitting myself. They're so happy. How am I going to do it? And as the day, they're such long filming days, and as the day went on, I slowly shrunk and shrunk and shrunk and shrunk. And I was just, felt like I was drowning and just trying to keep my head above water. And by the time it was coming to filming, I was like up to my eyes. But luckily, a producer noticed, and she said, Sarah, if we're starting filming in 20 minutes, the coaches are in their chairs. If you've got anything you want to say, now's the time. You cannot stop singing. You cannot stop filming. You cannot stop in the middle and start again. This is your one shot. You've worked so hard for this. Make it count. And I was thinking, I'm not okay right now. This is not the Sarah I want to do this with. And she clocked it and said, Sarah, can we have a quick chat? I was like, yeah, sure. Yeah, okay, of course. She took me into the corridor. As soon as we got out of earshot. As soon as we got out of sight and earshot from all the other contestants, I broke down, couldn't breathe. I was just like, my chest just feels so tight. I can't breathe. I can't think straight. I've forgotten the lyrics. I want to do this so bad and I know I can, but I just don't think I can do it today. And she was like, yes, you can. And I was like, I'm scared I'm going to mess it up, let everyone down, disappoint everybody, disappoint my kids, disappoint my family, disappoint my friends. And she was like, right, disappoint myself. And she was like, right, what would you do if this was your daughter? And I said, well, don't talk about Sienna because then I'll just cry again. So I was crying again. She was like, what would you say to her? And I said, if she said to you, Mum, I'm scared I'm going to disappoint you by getting on stage and messing up my words. And I was crying and I was saying, she could never disappoint me. You know, it's so brave. It's just so courageous just to put yourself on the stage. So she could never, even if it goes wrong, I'd be so proud of her. And she was like, listen to what you're saying. And she was like, give yourself that kindness. And I was like, yeah, I know. It's just I've waited a really long time for this moment and I really want it to be the moment I've dreamt of. And she was like, I'm sure it will. She's like, we've watched you rehearse. We've put you in this position for a reason. We believe in you. We think you've got it. So just go out there and sing. Don't worry about anything else. Just sing. And I was like, okay. No, you're right. She was like, right, let's distract you. What are you eating for lunch? I was like, a vegan salad. And I'm not even a vegan. Like, I don't even know why I ordered it.
Even the salad was wrong.
Yeah. I was like, I don't even know why I'm eating. I don't even like it. She was like, oh, Sarah, come here, give me a cuddle. So I think it broke down all barriers. I actually straight away knew who I was. And then I went backstage and everybody had been taken down by then. And a makeup artist came across and we weren't meant to have our makeup done. She was like, you're right. And I went, yeah, I just got myself in a bit of a state. You know, because you don't want to look like you can't handle it. That's the thing. So I wanted to go all the way. So I was thinking, just chill out, Sarah. They're going to kick you off this damn show before you even get on the stage and think that she ain't cut out for this industry. So, but she said to me, come and sit in my chair and chill out. And I was like, okay. And then she started cleansing on my face, taking all my makeup off, moisturising it. And I was like, what are you doing? I said, you're not meant to do makeup today, are you? She went, well, let's just keep it as our little secret. And I was like, well, thank you. And then I was all like, and then another girl was curling my hair. And again, they weren't meant to, but it was like earth angels. You know, I just had this little pack of women who I'd never met, but who totally knew I needed them at that moment. And and then obviously you saw what happened and I'd got myself together by then. I got backstage and I remember listening to the person who was before me getting turns. It was Mike. And I heard the turns. He was a couple before me. And I remember like her in the crowd. And then I got all of this like feeling all over my body. And I suddenly thought it was the crowd that was missing because I was upstairs in this quiet room. I've never done TV. Normally when I sing, I can hear the crowd, I can see it, gets me geared up and then I'll go and do it. But I wasn't getting my familiar zone feelings that day. And I was thinking, why isn't this happening today? What's going on? But I now know that's what it was. So as soon as I heard them, I was like, oh, yes, I can feel it. My normal feelings are coming. And then I grabbed the woman next to me and I went, I'm on The Voice. And she went, you are about to go on The Voice. And I went, that's Tom Jones on that screen. I'm about to sing on The Voice. And she went, yes, you are. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is actually happening. And so I was totally in this different frame of mind of fizzy excitement and scared, but really like just, can't believe I'm about to do this. And then obviously you watched what happened. I don't need to go into detail there, but obviously all of that baggage that people didn't see, that was the reason I jumped for joy. That was the reason I banged my feet because I have waited for such a long time for that recognition and to overcome my fears, to sing from meaning, to show my daughter, like to get over my panic attack that I'd had earlier that day and just no sleep and just do it. And I can't even remember it. I just know that it was when I was singing. The only bit I do remember is seeing Jennifer Hudson's hair just before I started singing and thinking, Jesus Christ, that's just Jennifer Hudson's hair and I'm about to sing to it. And then I clocked someone in the audience, didn't take my eyes off them. And I remember, obviously, once I'd done my first high note, thinking, oh, no, I'm not going to get through because if they're not turning at that, I don't know what more I can give them. Yeah. And then I thought, God, this really is the hardest TV show to sing on. And then another voice kicked in and was like, just close your eyes and sing. Sing. You got 10 seconds, just close your eyes. And I did, just didn't open them again until the end. And then obviously I saw the lights of the chairs and I heard the crowd and it was just, it just felt like a dream. And for the first time since I've been kicked out, I watched it the other day in a happy place. And I remembered the happiness of that moment, because obviously before now it's been just difficult to watch it without just sobbing into myself, just so that it's ended and that it didn't end the way I thought it was going to after all of that journey. And but now I watched it the other day and I had all those tingles of, I remember what that felt like when they turned, and I couldn't believe my own luck that it had happened. Yeah, and I didn't ever think it would get aired, because X Factor never aired me after all of that. They never aired me. So I remember getting my 4 turns and saying to the crew, oh, it's so good. You know, if it goes on telly, it'd be brilliant. They were like, of course it's going to go on TV. You just got 4 turns. And I went, yeah, but you never know. You know, I've got 4 yeses before. It didn't go on TV, so you just never know. And they were like, no, we do know. You're 100% going on TV, Sarah. And I was like, well, we'll see. So until the day it aired, I did not believe that it was definitely going to happen. So, yeah, it was quite some journey, really.
It's amazing to hear all of this after the fact, because obviously as an unknown, you know, Joe Blogs audience member, you watch and you see, you know, you make up your own story about the people who are on the stage, and you might learn a few things as the judges are talking, because as the show progressed, we learned about different people in the show and things that were happening in people's lives. And one of your fellow contestants lost his father during the show. Like, 1 week for us, 1 week he was there, and then the next week we found out that he had passed away. And and to see him singing was incredible. And so it's very interesting to hear and feel, because there's a meme that I keep seeing going around, and I don't know who it's attributed to, but don't compare your insides to someone else's outsides. And this is such a telling example of that it's easy to look at you on the stage. I mean, God, I would never have thought that you were feeling all of those things and that you'd had all of those experiences. Seeing you absolutely gift us with your voice, because you have such an extraordinary voice. And before we started recording, my kids were in with us, and we were all singing with you, and it's great. I can hear. I think your family's coming in now too, so we're going to have some kids in the space, which is lovely. I see a little red hood coming in to say hi to Mummy.
Hey, do you want to come say hello?
Yeah, I like say hello.
Okay. Sorry, Anne.
No, that's all right.
Come up. Oh no.
That's all right.
Oh no, the phone's fell over.
That's okay. Hi, lovely boy.
Hello.
Hi, Josh.
Can't hear her because of the headphones. So say hello.
Hello.
Hello. And so one of the things that I wanted to ask you about, because it's important to the community that listens to the podcast and to my offering, which is called the MamaFuel Sisterhood, where we come together. We come together in a membership and spend months and months and months and months, forever, hopefully, together. Sisterhood is really important. And I know that you created a very, some really strong bonds in the process, both, I should think, of becoming a mama, but also the process of being on The Voice and of building connections with people that you would not have expected in that competitive environment. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I mean, it was actually with Craig. And that was largely because I was challenging my own ego, which was difficult to do by the end. But at that time, I was still wholehearted within the process. And we got put together, and instinctively you're competitive and you're thinking, we are 2 people in the same space. You know, it can be reflected in life. I know it's The Voice and it's a created space, but there's always someone doing the same thing as you that you're competing with, and that your ego can get very affected by. But I recognised the pattern because I'm obviously self-developing, and I was aware. And Kerry had said something about, what do you do when you see someone doing what you do? Some of it better, some of it not. It doesn't really matter. What's the best thing you can do? And the best thing you can do is befriend them and compliment them. And I found it really hard to do, because we were in front of Jennifer Hudson, we were singing, and he was smashing it, and I wasn't at that moment. And I was thinking, how do I do that when I want to get through it badly? I want this badly. But I chose that path. So when I got home, I texted him and I said, Craig, I just wanted to tell you, I know we're against each other. I know only one of us can win. But if I wasn't against you, you're the type of person I'd root for. Your voice is absolutely stunning. You seem like a really nice guy. Absolutely loved how you sang Against All Odds. It's going to be an honour to share the stage with you. And he wrote back and was like, wow, Sarah, you've really just warmed my heart there. Blown away by your kindness. You seem like a really genuinely kind soul. And I feel blessed that I've got put with someone who's so genuine. And by the way, you are the real Mariah Carey. Absolutely love your voice too. And it set the tone for things going forward. And so I'd tell him about my therapy learnings and I'd say, you know, I've got to be honest, today I'm like massively competing with you in my head, okay? Today I don't want you to do well, but I'm telling you this because I don't want to be this person. So let's chat and let's try and iron it out, but just know that I'm working on it. And he was like, I'm so glad you said that because yesterday I was feeling like that about you and I was looking at your Instagram thinking, for Christ's sake, why is she so good? And I was like, yeah, well, look, it's just because we both want this. It's okay. And we did that the whole time. We FaceTimed every few days and just spoke it out and talked to each other openly. See you soon. And it just, and when we met up again, although we only had seen each other the once, it was like meeting up with a brother. You know, we met up with each other, we gave each other the biggest hug. We were very vulnerable, but we'd been through so much just to get to that point. And then we, you know, the night before our audition, we laid in the hotel room and he told me about his life and I told him about mine. And when my husband and kids turned up, I said, come in my room, come and meet my parents. And they were sort of wanted to meet this guy because he'd made it so enjoyable for me. And we were watching our rehearsals and bigging each other up, encouraging each other. And you could tell the people around us were like, what is going on? I want that, but I haven't got that with my partner. And or else, you know, just confused by it, just outright confused by it. But and I remember him saying to me that when we'd actually got through, he kisses my head, and if you ever watch it back, you'll see it. He kissed my head and he said that in that moment, I knew I loved you because I wanted you to get through because I couldn't bear your heart to break. And I thought that was so lovely. I said to him, I can't say that back to you because I wanted to get through. I love you, but I wanted to get through. And it was tough to admit that. But I didn't want to lie and be like, me too. I totally wanted you to get through. And I said that to him the whole time. He'd say to me, do you know what? I've made peace with it now. If I go out, I'm happy. And I was like, okay, that's great, babe, but I don't feel like that. You know, I want this so badly, it hurts, but I want the best for us both. So if the best thing for me is to go out and you need to go through, then that's what I want. But I hope that we both go through. And it was really liberating to share that love with somebody that really we were battling against, and we were put very much in opposing, you know, things visually and how we had to talk about each other. So yeah, it was lovely. And we still talk every few days. We're still, you know, out of everything. Hello, darling. Sorry, it's in this here. I'm not sure, but Mummy's on the call at the moment. There you go. Sorry.
She's found her own solution.
Yes. I don't know. I've lost my flow. Yeah, we still talk all the time.
Yeah.
And we say, you know, Craig's further along in the healing process than I am. But he says to me, honestly, my biggest blessing out of this whole thing is for meeting you and getting a friend like you out of it. And that will last me longer than the voice ever would have done. And I'm so thankful for him, but I'm not there yet. Like I'm still healing, you know, I'm not out the other side of not, you know, I'm so thankful for him, but I can't, I'm not there yet, basically. I'm working on it. So yeah, but I never expected that to happen. Like, I never expected to make a lifelong friend. And I've always wanted a guy, lifelong friend. You know, he's gay and he's got his partner and we just share the same. I've just always wanted that, you know, that guy friend that is actually your best friend because he has that, you know, feminine side to him. And yeah, it's like getting another brother. I already have two, but I'll take another one.
You can never have too many, I don't think.
No.
So what is, as we come to the close, I have two more questions for you. What has been the importance of your community around you? Because for people who may not have been glued to Saturday nights on The Voice, like the girls and I were, until, as Carolina just said to you before we started recording, until you were no longer on the show, and then she just didn't want to watch anymore. She didn't care.
Oh, that's so sweet.
She really wanted to see you. What has been the importance of community around you and supporting you as you moved on, you won the battle with Craig, and then you moved on again, and eventually the journey ended for this round. This round of the journey ended. So what has been the importance of community for you around that? What's I think where we live is a really unique place. It's very no, you can't be a baby yet. Just give me 5 minutes, and then you can. He wants milk. That's what. He wouldn't be the first one to have milk on the podcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, fine. Okay. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Real life mothering this is. Community got me on that stage at the end of the day, and the support was massive and overwhelming. Actually, that just so much love and so many people rooting for me. You know, you can't really explain what that's like. Like, my life was the same. I was living my dream. I wasn't doing it for other people. I was consumed with my own passion and dream. But yet it seemed to make so many other people happy, and so many other people feel joy, real, true, exhilarated joy. Yeah. And there's not very many occasions you can do that for people or to people, or even experience it yourself. And the night we all watched it, I had all my family over. And I've got a video of us all watching it, and I watched it the other night and cried my eyes out, because just in that room, I could watch that video 10 times and just focus on one individual at a time and see so many different things. And I remember saying to them, because all of their phones were going nuts, they all had their experience of fame within it, because they were like, oh, everyone's texting me, everyone that knows me. And but I said to them, you know what, like, we've got to embrace this, because times that bring families together are normally death and normally funerals. You know, my nan's brother's family contacted her. My dad's dad, who passed away when he was young, suddenly was in contact with his dad's sister and their kids, and they were saying, we've been watching your granddaughter. You know, everyone came together. And I said, the only time this normally happens is in death, at a funeral, and you've experienced these simple, joyous moments of just love, like talking about how much you love each other or loved that person, and remember when this happened. And I said, this is really special, and we have to try and take all this attention in, because it's all for the right reasons. It's actually just, it's love. It's spreading love somehow, even though it's a TV show and it's quite fickle in some ways. It's actually, the result is actually such an amazing wave of something bigger than me. And I loved that. And I was so sad when that ended, you know, because as much as the love and the happiness spread, everyone was so devastated as well when I got out. And so that created a wave, where it goes up, it must come down sort of thing. And that was more difficult, because I'd so loved it when it was up. It was difficult for me to kind of accept it once it came down.
Well, certainly in our house, what was filling us with real joy and literally bouncing up and down on the sofa excitement was your candor, and also the fact that you're a mama, and that certainly in the work that I do with mums around the world, I often see mums who, when I say to them, I used to do workshops here in Geneva, and I would say, you know, what do you love to do? And would just be met with blankness, or like, what's your favorite song? And blankness. And when's the last time you went out and did something with a friend? Like, what's your favorite hobby? And what would often come is tears. Because as mamas, particularly, I think those of us who, there are a few different groups, I might say, but those of us who have kids who have particular needs, so be they learning differences or physical differences or developmental differences, we often get lost. Or if we move away to a different place, which we've done a few times, you get lost because you're so busy supporting your kids and making sure that they're okay.
Of course, yeah.
And then there are just the mums who have been so desperate to become mums, who maybe had a hard journey to get there, or who have just dreamt of nothing else their whole lives, who suddenly get there and realize wait a minute, I'm supposed to, this isn't everything. This isn't going to fulfill my every need and desire. This isn't going to, fill me to the brim with love and relief and gratitude and delight all the time. Well, no, actually it's quite a slog and it's really hard.
Yeah.
It brings up all kinds of your own stuff to be healed at every phase of your journey as your kids
Definitely.
We're hitting into teenage years. And boy, oh boy, there hasn't been a stage that hasn't been triggering a reminder of an unhealed experience in me.
Yeah.
My husband, I see it too. So that's, I think, one of the reasons that was so exciting, and that I had mentioned in one of the I think you had done a live, because you were great about being live and singing with people on your Instagram during the process, specifically when people could vote. So the public, for anyone who didn't watch The Voice, the public could vote at one stage.
Yeah.
And that was obviously, it became very much about your outreach to the community and people getting to know, like, and trust you. And I had said there should be, ITV should do The Voice for moms. They should do a My Mom Can Sing or something.
Yeah.
Because as someone who had never sung my whole life, other than a little bit, I'd sung in a few choirs, but growing up with a mom who sang all the time in a very specific style, I didn't feel like there was a lot of space. And I recently started singing because of you, because I watched you on The Voice.
Oh, that's amazing.
But it's true. I've always sung in the car. And my husband, the first date we ever went on, we were walking in the street and I started singing a Julie London. I don't know why I started singing a Julie London song, Cry Me River. And he stopped in the street and he looked at me and said, "Oh my God, you have an amazing voice." And I was like, "Oh no, you're just saying that. It's our first date." But that was 13 years ago. And this November, after watching you on The Voice, I contacted, he actually found the singing teacher. He said, "You should contact this person because our youngest daughter, Amelia, loves to sing. She's a beautiful and quite extraordinary voice. You have a beautiful voice. You should totally sing." And watching you just was what it took in our house for something a desire that's been latent for such a long time to click into gear, and to now.
Oh, that's amazing.
All the time. So yes, we were devastated for you, but the legacy of what you have done so far already, and you're not even, you're baby still. There's so much time, so much more evolution and maturity, and that you will get, that we all get as we get older, and the voice will evolve, your voice will change. Those ripples are still happening. So
thank you. That's lovely.
Be a salve to some of your grief that those ripples are very, we talk about you every week in our house, and
that's so lovely.
It was really about watching you as a mama say, yes, I dreamt of being a mama. I'm a mama. And also I'm a whole person and I have this dream and it is so consuming that I have to pursue it. So what would you say to mamas who maybe have a dream or don't remember what their dreams are even? What would you say to a mama who thinks she's maybe not good enough or who doesn't believe in her own light
self? Part of what I'm doing with the mortgage mum is this actually. And it's sometimes I think a lot of mums need not a leader, but somebody that says to them, "You are good enough, you're fantastic, you are very clever, or you are very capable, or you're really good at singing," or whatever that thing is. We need to encourage each other, because we all need a cheerleader. We all need a little group of people going, "You're so good at that. Go for it. You're so good. We love you. You're great." And we need that. So we need to be that for each other, and we need other people to be that for us. And so, things like what you're doing is great, because sometimes you only need one person to say that to you. I only needed one person to tell me, "You should sing. You have something in you," once more for me to go, "Yeah, I do." And now, within my grief, I'm uploading videos again, and I get comments, and I might not be able to reply to them all, but I read every single one, and some of them give me that fire instantly, and I have to instantly sing again. I get YouTube up instantly, even if I'm cooking. Those are the times, if you see that I look an absolute state and I'm cooking, and you can see, quite frankly, why would you add a video into the mix of your life in that moment? Those are the times where I've just read someone's message to me or something, and they've said something like, "You are one of the greatest things," or "You made the best one I've had recently." Was someone said, "When I watched your blind, me and my partner," it was a man, "me and my partner it made me realise I've been holding back the fear of adopting and putting it on hold. And there was something about you singing in my blood that resonated so deeply. We've now got 2 boys. And he sent me a picture of him with his 2 sons that they've adopted. And I was,
oh my God,
blown away. Like, I was just like, oh my God, how, why did you get that from me singing in my blood, which was about my postnatal depression? You know, now you know that. Every word I sang, I was feeling, because I felt that way. So that's what I always try and do, is I try and feel everything I'm singing, because if I feel it, hopefully other people will. And this guy said it was just something about it, like, you know, sometimes I feel like giving up, but I just can't. And the fear, I can feel the fear and the overcoming that fear. And it gave me the strength. So I will always be thankful to you. And that made me literally think, I just want to sing right now. Like, I need to sing now, because I was so, yeah, I'm going to do that more and more. But my point is, you know, a comment on a video or on your podcast can change someone's whole day, which can change their whole life. Yeah. So everyone has something. You might not be able to sing, you might not be able to write or paint, but you have something that is uniquely special to you. And I want people to just find what it is. And you don't have to know. If you don't know, try stuff. And it probably will go, oh no, it's definitely not that. That's definitely not that. Oh, it might be that. Or maybe your special thing is supporting other people to do their special thing. Because that's the other thing, is not everyone can be the person that's on the stage. Those people on the stage need certain people to play certain roles for those talents to come out, but those people aren't any less important than the person on the stage. And that's what I've had to say to myself, is, you know what, maybe my time on the stage is done. And maybe, just maybe, Sienna or your daughter, or there's someone out there that's watched me and listened who's destined for even greater things than what I've done. And I had to play that role in their life. You just don't know. But I do understand that the universe knows, and I disconnected from it after, because I was like, what have you done? You knew I was manifesting to win. I was supposed to win a record deal so I could change so much about the world. Why have you done this? Da, da, da. This was not fair. I don't understand. I'm disconnecting from you. But I've reconnected now, because you can't disconnect for too long. And I'm reconnecting now because I'm understanding and surrendering to the fact that I don't know everything. And I thought I did, and I tried to control it, but I am a control freak. I am a recovering perfectionist. I have my flaws. I am a human. And so I liked to think I was totally in control, because I can manifest stuff, because I've manifested my kitchen, because I manifested my daughter, and I manifested the voice, that I was in control. I thought, well, yeah, whatever I want, I can have right now. So why hasn't it happened? Therefore, none of this can be real. I'm out of that now. And now I'm in a place of, well, you don't know everything, Sarah, and you don't know what you've done. You don't know what impact that's had, and you still don't know what impact you will have. Your daughter could end up singing, and she could talk about this as part of her ingrained growth as a singer. You just have to just carry on and see what comes up and act from your heart, and you don't know what's going to happen. Like, you might still be a singer, you might not. But
yeah.
So going back to what other people are, you don't have to equally have a special thing. Your special thing might be being a mum every day, and you might love it, and that might fill you up, and your children might then go on to do what they go on to do. But yeah, I think it's about, you know, in your gut when you're doing the thing you're supposed to be doing. You just can feel it. It's just a feeling. So as long as you keep tuning in, then you'll find your thing, and then you should just try and do more of it, really. But get your cheerleaders, because you need them.
Yeah, and become one, because that's one of the reasons that I created MamaFuel, is to change the way that we treat ourselves first, and change the way we treat each other, because we have been, like you and Craig, somehow acculturated and raised to be pitted against each other and
definitely
climb over each other when it comes to getting the guy or getting the partner or getting the job or getting the, and it's just crap. It's all crap.
Yeah. And to be honest, you know, as much as I want to be on a TV singing show, they don't help, because our children have grown up with those shows of 6-chair challenge, and if you want to be the best, you have to climb, like you say, climb over everyone else and sing the loudest, because otherwise you're going to get trampled over. And I think there is another way. And I will admit, I was hoping to win, to show people you don't have to climb over everyone to win. But then, my faith got tested in that respect. But then also, you don't have to win to win. Like I tell my daughter that all the time when we're playing Monopoly. You don't have to win to be a winner. And she repeated it back to me on the way back from knockouts. And I thought, oh gosh, we parent our kids and we tell them all this philosophical stuff, but we don't always live by it. Sometimes we're still a child going, no, you do actually have to win. Actually, that's not true.
You don't have to win, but I do.
Rubbish. Yeah, you don't have to, but Mummy did, okay?
That's right.
So we can learn so much from them because they repeat back to us what we know in our hearts. And obviously we give our kids our heart space every time.
Yeah.
And so what they repeat back to us, that is our truth a lot of the time. And she's been my greatest teacher through this healing process, because she repeats back to me what I've taught her from my heart. Whereas because I'm trapped within my ego and my heart space, she's able to, tell me what's most important. And I think our kids are great for that, really.
So for people to find you, where can they find you?
So, I should have probably talked about my business a bit, but whatever. So on Instagram, I'm seeing, I think it's sing_mother_Tucker, but you'll find me to sing Mother Tucker.
I'll put the links in the show notes. Yeah.
Yes. I'm also the Mortgage Mum. I've founded and director of the Mortgage Mum. The Mortgage Mum is probably more for your UK followers.
Yeah.
It's going to be a very exciting space for women who don't know what they want to do, are mums, but don't have to be a mum, but you do have to be a woman, and who need that cheerleader saying, do you want to do a career that means you can pick kids up and have your own career at home and work from home and earn really good money and help people get their houses that they love? And yes, you are clever enough. And if you want to try, then you can come become a mortgage mum. You're going to get a safe space. You're going to have your own career. I'm not ever going to target you. You're going to have flexible working. You can pick your kids up. You can earn 50 grand. You can earn 10 grand. I don't care. I want you to have what I have, which is work-life balance, a career, and I can mother the way I want to mother around it. And there's a space for women in this industry. So come join me. Let's create that space. And I want to offer them, the inspirational talks and stuff within that group. But more than anything, it's giving them a chance to earn well and be flexible, which is difficult for women, especially in the UK. So that's what I'm working on now. And I've kind of convinced myself that my platform on The Voice will help me be heard. And that's a good thing. So that's the Mortgage Mum is somewhere to follow if you want to keep up to date with that. But otherwise, I'm just on social media, Sarah Tucker, most of them, YouTube, Sarah Tucker on YouTube.
I will put all of the links on. And
thank you.
Will you promise that you will keep singing?
Yes. I can't not now.
Yay!
I've unleashed it. I've got a show with Roger. Roger from The Voice. Did you see his audition?
Yes.
So Roger and Peter Donegan, who's Lonnie Donegan's son, who sang with Tom Jones, the most beautiful duet. The three of us are doing a show in May. I've been asked to go along too. So we're all singing. So that's going to be great. I'm really excited about that. So I'm just going to let it happen as it happens. But yes, I will. I can't
imagine that it would just stop, like that you would be on The Voice and then suddenly, so many people have heard you. So many people have, you are the real Mariah Carey. I echo that. Hearing you is just, all the chills and all the feels. So I'm delighted that you will keep singing. We will keep our eyes and ears open, and I will take my kids to the UK to watch you sing.
Oh, thank you. That would be amazing.
I will for sure. And if I'm doing that, when I do that, I will let you know.
Yeah, thank you.
My last question is, where do you get your MamaFuel?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, right now from the gym, because the gym is like therapy, it gives me loads of energy. I think I get my fuel though, mate, because I'm only just joined the gym 4 weeks ago, from thinking about my legacy. So when I think about my kids being my age, what I want them to say about me, you know, like, oh, my mum was always this. My mum used to say that to me and now I live by it. My mum always told me to believe, or my mum taught me the law of attraction, or whatever. I think about that and I think, what kind of mum do I want to have impacted their lives? When they have those chats, which they will, particularly Sienna, but Joshua will perhaps with his partner one day, you know, what was your mum like? Or how was your mum growing up? Yeah, I want it to be really uplifting and positive and have massively driven their life in the direction it is in a positive way. So that gives me fuel on the bad days when I'm just thinking, Christ, they just go to sleep or just stop throwing food on the floor. I try and think like what I want them to remember me as and the main impact I want to have on them.
That reminds me, before we close, of, I think I'm going to get this right. I believe it was Oprah interviewing a woman named Iyanla Vanzant. Iyanla Vanzant is her name. And she's a public speaker and a lawyer and has done all kinds of stuff around spirituality and so on. And Oprah was saying to her that she felt that her legacy, it's all right. That's okay. That her legacy was her television program and the conversation she had shared with viewers. And Iyanla Vanzant said, "You will never know. You don't get to decide what it is." No, that's not true. She was saying that her legacy was the schools that she had created for girls in South Africa. And that those, she calls them her daughters, that was her legacy. And the woman said, "You don't get to decide what your legacy is. Maybe your legacy is how you've impacted the lives of millions and millions and millions of people around the world with the programs that you've done, the podcasts that you have." You don't know. So you don't know. There is that piece of what legacy do I want to leave and how do I want to be with my children? And also there's the unintentional ripple, the greater legacy that you're not even aware that you will do something, you will sing and inspire someone to maybe start a horse farm or start something that's completely unrelated or go volunteer in Malawi or, and then that person will change other people's lives and that's your legacy, right?
Yeah. And how amazing is that?
I have all the chills saying it.
Yeah, It is amazing.
So yeah.
And doing this is great because obviously more people were here. So it creates those more ripples, doesn't it?
Exactly. Well, for anyone who wants to hear Sarah sing, I will put all the links in the show notes. And
thank you.
I'm so grateful to you for taking the time to talk to me.
Oh, no, it's been one fun. Thank you so much for your patience with me.
Oh, it's fine. Scheduling things happen all the time. So it's been a joy. I'm happy that we were able to speak. Thank you so much, Sarah. Have a lovely day.
You're so welcome.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
As ever, conversation could have continued for such a long time, and mindful of your time and devotion, thank you so much for sticking around through the whole hour and 16 minutes of that conversation and for being a listener of MamaFuel the podcast. It means the world to me that you are still here and that you are listening. And I hope that my conversation with Sarah in some way has inspired you to follow your own dream, because while you may not be a singer, maybe you're a potter or a boxer or a crafter or, I don't know, a teacher or a planter or a writer, who knows? But I hope that this conversation will inspire you to somehow take a step towards your dream, no matter how tiny the step may feel. And when you do, I'd love to hear about it. And Sarah would too. So come into the Facebook group, the MamaFuel Virtual Village, and find our conversation about this podcast and let us know what you think and what this conversation inspired in you. Don't forget, the 7th of May is a big day in MamaFuel land. That is the day that all the fun begins around the MamaFuel Sisterhood. And I would love, love, love for you to be one of the people stepping into the MamaFuel Sisterhood with the other beautiful souls that are in there. It is such a special place and is an area in which so much growth is occurring for the mamas who've stepped into that circle that I cannot believe it. And I would love to have you have that experience too. So if you're interested, you've got any questions, and you just can't wait until the 7th of May to find out more, drop me an email at Anne, ANNE, @mamafuel.me, and we can get chatting. That's it for this week. I'll talk to you very soon. Hope you have a fabulous week. Bye for now. That's it for this episode of MamaFuel, the podcast. Thanks for listening. There's a lot more conversation, sharing, and real mama talk happening in our private Facebook group. You can join that totally free by going to www.thecenteredmamaproject.com/Facebook, or just go to Facebook and type facebook.com/mamafuel.me, or just search mamafuel.me and you'll find us there. Make sure you say hi when you get in there. If you like this episode, or if you know a mama who could use a little bit of Mama Fuel, I would love for you to share this episode and to rate it and leave a review. That will help us get this episode into more mamas' ears, and for that, I will be eternally grateful. Every comment helps, and it is always such a delight to hear from you. Thanks, and bye for now.